Hi, this is Carmen DeVito, garden designer here in New York City. Today we're going on a field trip to Snug Harbor Cultural Center on Staten Island. This is an amazing place that was founded in 1801, and it was basically a place where old sailors went to live and eventually die when they retired from the sea. This place has everything. Today we're going to go to the Heritage Farm, but it also has a museum, it has a Chinese scholars garden, a botanical garden, so much museums, and it's absolutely free. So it's an amazing place with 83 acres and it's open 7 days a week. So let's take a look. We're gonna go through the alley to the Heritage Farm now. Follow me. So here we are at the 2-acre Heritage Farm site. They have a CSA as well as a farmer's market weekly. And behind me, that white structure is the tomato hothouse. So this is 2 acres. It's all grown pretty much organically. And in a few minutes, we're gonna meet with the farm manager, Ezra Pasackow. I think I'm saying his name correctly, but he'll correct me if I'm not. And we're also gonna talk to a couple of members of the CSA and get a little bit of a history of this farm. Okay, so I'm here at Heritage Farm. I'm with Ezra Pasackow.
Correct.
I got it right, Pasackow. Okay, you are the farm manager.
I am, yeah.
Right.
So I started in February. So this is my first growing season here, actually in New York. So I moved to New York, and so it's very exciting to be here on the Heritage Farm.
And what did you do before you came here to New York?
Yeah, I was working for Vermont Youth Conservation Corps. So I'm originally from Vermont, and I was farming up there for a season. Very close to the Canadian border, so the climate is a little different than it is down here.
Cool. Well, we're looking here, we're right here in front of the CSA tomato table, which is amazing. Ezra, I wanted to ask you a little bit of the history of the farm before you came.
Yeah,
What's it all
absolutely.
about?
Well, I'll take it back even further. Snug Harbor was a home for retired sailors. And so we're talking 1800s, where this was a community, a self-sustaining community of sailors who didn't have families to go back to and came here to live. And so what's amazing is this whole 83-acre property was actually a little bit bigger, and they farmed. They had animals, they did grain, they made their own cheese. So they had this whole self-sustaining community, and we wanted to go back to that history. So in 2012, the organization started the Heritage Farm, which is right behind it, or right in front of us. And since then, we've been a staple of Staten Island and a staple of the New York City food scene. Prior to my arrival, we relied heavily on restaurant sales. We have amazing partners. One of our best is Per Se, which is a 3-star Michelin restaurant in Midtown. Because of COVID, we've had to obviously change that. Because the restaurants haven't been open, we've had to figure out another way to grow food for our community. And so that is when we launched the CSA, which is Community Supported Agriculture.
So tell me about how many members you have and what you're growing this season.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 89 members, which is fantastic. So we're reaching 89 families plus with our veggies. We're a diversified mixed veggies and fruit operation. So we've got a wide variety, I'd say over 63 varieties of things. So of course we've got these tomatoes, other heavy fruiters. We've got, summer squash, cucumbers, peppers, tomatillos, things like that. But then we also have lettuces, we have mint, we have basil. This week in the share, they're getting kale and some of the other things that I've mentioned, but we really do have a wide variety.
And you grow herbs too.
We grow herbs as well. And obviously it's seasonal. So what's in season? So in the beginning of the season, they were getting a lot of greens, a lot of radishes and turnips. Getting towards September and October, we'll be going back into that same growing schedule.
And what has been challenging this year? I mean, you kind of had to turn on a dime to go from what restaurants want to individuals. How did you make that transition?
Yeah, well, absolutely. My experience comes from CSA, so I had a little bit of that knowledge beforehand, but really it's been easy with such a supportive community here. I think what you're finding and what I've realized is everyone is looking for community in this time. We've been told to stay home. We've been told to stay separate, but at the same time we're striving for connection and community. And so to be able to have our farm and our hard work go into people's kitchens and go into people's mouths, I think people are really looking for that. And so it was easy to get support.
It sold out very quickly,
It sold out very quickly, which I'm very happy about. And really,
So do you think that you'll continue with the CSA model?
We will. I think we've seen such a strong presence with community members either coming to pick up their CSA or supporting us at our farm stand, that this really is a good model for us, not only financially, but also in terms of our ecological sense and I think responsibility we have of being a member of this community and feeding our community.
So what would you change now that you've gone through like almost a whole season with the CSA?
Oh, lots of things. I mean, as a farmer, you're only good as well as you know your land. And so being here for, less than 10 months, I'm still learning the land. I'm still learning what happens when we have a big storm like last night.
Yeah.
What does it look like? What does our soil do? What is our insect life like? What is our weed suppression like? What are nutrients growing in our soil? And so, I mean, I could come up with a million things I'd like to change, but it's just learning your land and learning your community, and you can only do that with time.
And you're feeding 89 families just on 2 acres. Is there an opportunity to expand the farm at all?
Well, I'll tell you this right now, we don't have all 2 acres in production.
Okay.
Yeah, we can expand absolutely with the proper planning, the proper equipment, the proper team, really it's just preparation. And so by having a full winter where I'm on site will allow us to be able to expand our CSA and expand our reach.
So potentially you could, when the restaurant scene opens up again, hopefully soon, which we're really hoping that
really
happens,
hoping to see
maybe
those
you
partners.
can do both.
Absolutely. I mean, we're already trying it right now. I'm reaching out to our, seeing how New York is reopening after New York on pause. I'm already reaching out to our chef partners to see how, if we have extra from this or a supply of that isn't going into the CSA, how do we get that to those locally owned restaurants as well.
That's great. So you're reaching out to local restaurants on Staten Island as well.
Yes, and our Brooklyn partners. Stay in contact with everybody we had connections with prior to COVID and prior to my time here, but also trying to make new connections as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what's different growing for an RSA, a restaurant supported agriculture, versus the CSA? What are the sort of major differences, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the biggest difference is your customer interface. You're talking to one chef, and your one chef is making the decisions on the menu, and they tell you what you want. Where today, I'm talking to 89 or 100 different people saying, well, what are you doing for dinner this week? What do you didn't like the fennel last week? Well, good thing we've got a different option for you this week, and we can swap that out. So I think that customer experience is very different, but then from the growing standpoint, I mean, you're talking about a different scale. You're talking about, providing veggies, a good amount of veggies to people over 20 weeks, where restaurants, depending on what their menu changes are, what their chef is looking for, what their business model is, really you could be, it ebbs and flows. And so for us, it's trying to build a robust selection of veggies for people. And I think also a fun part of this is educating people, about what seasonality means and locality means. Right? We're used to going to the grocery store and getting an avocado and a ripe tomato every single day of the week. And so we got to talk about that. And there's nothing wrong with that. We can have our arguments of food systems and all of that.
Sure.
But to be able to say, hey, look, these tomatoes were harvested today and they were grown right there, and we're the people who grew that, there's something really, really important about that. And I think we need to see more of that in our community. So I'm happy to be able to be a part of that.
And I think the restaurant community is definitely leaning into that.
Absolutely.
A lot.
Absolutely.
So the chefs, it's collaborative with the chefs too.
Yeah,
right?
Of course. And so right as I started, before COVID, I was having conversations with chefs as I was making my crop plan. So I've got my Excel sheet open, and I'm looking at what I want to be growing, and I'm saying, I'm looking at orders from last year, and you guys really like that, so I'm going to do more of that. Or I saw that, you ordered that once. What happened?
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Yeah.
And so we can have that relationship as well, and trying to, meet our customer halfway and do the best that we can.
Tell me a little bit about your team.
Yeah, so we've got a great team. We have staff, so Sam is over at the screen, you can get him. He's leaning into the van.
Hi, Sam.
Sam's been here this is his 3rd or 4th growing season, I can't remember. 4th, so he knows this land. We're talking about land and knowing this. So he's been a great resource of being able to say, hey, I saw this is going to come, or hey, heads up, you're going to see this happening on the land. And so that's been great. Just as another independent person, I don't know, she's up there somewhere. And then we also rely on volunteers. And so that's another thing that changed so much with COVID. We worked with workforce development groups. And they were coming on site and helping us with our labor, helping us with our projects. But that, because of the funding stream and because of social distancing rules, we've had to cut that down. But we do have a core team of 3 volunteers right now who are supporting us a couple times a week to be able to make all of this happen.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, one of them is a CSA member, and she's, really keen on learning more about agriculture, having her own land someday, having her own farm, and so
This is a great opportunity.
and so this is a great
yeah.
opportunity to be a member of the CSA, but also be able to grow the CSA, which I think is invaluable for her and invaluable for us as farmers.
So let's talk about tomato, because it's probably one of the crops that
Yes.
home growers, home gardeners probably grow the most. I don't have the statistics on it.
No, but I'm sure you're right.
Informally, that's like.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at here?
Yeah, absolutely. So to your left, my right, we've got a classic slicer. The variety is Galahad. So this year we bought all our seeds from Johnny Seeds. They're a great supplier. They got a lot of varieties, and commercial and organic farmers, really rely on them. So I trust their judgment. So these are great slicers. In the middle, you've got your yellow Brandywine. So this is an heirloom variety. So you see this scarring here. This is something that people say, oh, that's such an ugly tomato. What's so wrong with that? Well, actually, that's kind of common on these varieties.
Yeah.
So this scarring is called cat face, and that can be a result of a lot of things, but mainly it's temperatures dropping early in the season overnight. And so, I mean, we had a frost on Mother's Day. So yeah, that played a role in how these tomatoes
But it
survive.
doesn't affect the taste.
It
at
doesn't
all.
affect
No.
the taste at all. But again, it's talking to customers and saying you're not going to get a perfect tomato like you do at the grocery store, but you're going to get one that's probably going to taste better than what you're finding.
Yeah, like less than a mile.
Yeah.
Growing less than a mile.
I mean, less than 200 feet.
200 feet from where
it was harvested and grown and taken care of. So, yeah,
that's
tomatoes are fantastic.
Yellow Brandywine and
Yellow
this one?
Brandywines, and then these are indigo. Something, I'm blanking on the name, but they're just another, organic variety that grow well in this climate, do well, and are best to be pest resistant and climate strong with this area that we're growing in.
How many types of tomatoes did you grow this year?
I think we've got 10 this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your practices are biodynamic or organic? How would you describe them?
Yeah, so we're not certified organic, but we
Right.
certainly use organic practices. We're working towards, regenerative agriculture, and then something that I'm really focusing on, which I think sets us apart from other farms in the New York City area, is being low-till or no-till. And so
Okay.
what that means is we have a piece of land, and what's the most important about part of that land is our soil and our soil health. And so if we can take care of our soil health, all our plants are going to succeed. And so low-till or no-till, which is very popular in the small-scale organic or small-scale farming world right now, is having the least amount of disturbance in your soil. So you know that your topsoil is the top 1 to 8 inches of soil. That's where all the really good nutrients are. By bringing a tractor or bringing big machinery and turning it like that, you're bringing those nutrients down to the bottom.
So the plants have to work
So
harder
the
to
plants
get,
have to work harder.
and you have to have more inputs.
You have to have more inputs.
Right.
You're also reintroducing dormant weed seeds.
Ah, yes.
And then also let's talk about water retention. We had a giant storm, we had tons of rain. If you're constantly turning that soil, you're going to have your nutrients run away with a rainstorm. And so by being low-till or no-till, we're trying to disturb the soil the least amount of as possible so we can keep those nutrients in the ground. So practices are, use hand tools to move the soil rather than large machinery. Use cover crop. Mow, right? Rather than just wiping a part of the land clean and having exposed soil. Sure, we'll deal with the weeds later, but if you mow that and keep it low, you're at least allowing some of that moisture and liquid to be kept into the soil rather
and
than
eventually
washing away.
those get decomposed.
Yeah, exactly.
Those aren't apples,
you
those are
can
tomatoes.
cut them and have mulch.
Yeah.
Not be a problem.
Oh, we got a big, beautiful one up there. Thank you.
Anything else you want to tell us about the farm?
Thank you.
No, I think we covered it all. I mean, I think we did a great job getting a lot of things. I mean, I'll say it's an incredible opportunity to be in New York City and to be a farmer on such a large and amazing, beautiful property. And so I think as farmers, we have an obligation to, take care of our community, to feed our community. And something I'm really proud of is that we sell to our farm stand, we sell to our CSA, but then we also donate weekly to different food shelves and programs on Staten Island that are feeding the food insecure. So that's something that I'm really proud
Ezra,
of and will
thank
continue
you.
to do.
Thank you so much for the time.
Yeah,
It's really
absolutely.
great to see the farm and all the tomatoes.
I know, it's exciting.
It's
Thanks
just a
for coming.
portrait that this photographer took.
Thanks for watching my video. It was so great to meet Ezra and tour Heritage Farm here at Snug Harbor. I really hope that some of you will come out here this summer and the fall. And if you come on Wednesdays, you can buy produce at the farm stand, even if you're not a member of the CSA. On our next video, in a couple of weeks, we're going to visit a garden that I have recently become a part of. It's a heritage garden on Staten Island at Casa Belvedere, which is the Italian Cultural Foundation. Thanks for watching. You can follow me at Goody DeVito. Keep gardening and stay safe.